What were some recent economic changes that affected the market for alternatively fueled vehicles?
Fuel prices dropped from over $4 in the summer of 2008. Some of the momentum and incentives shown by customers demanding more fuel-efficient vehicles was lost. Today, fuel economy is the primary purchasing decision for most Americans, not because fuel prices are too high, but because tough economic times make every dollar count. General Motors, Ford Motors, and Chrysler plan a 63% boost in small car production capacity by 2015 that may outstrip demand. In the next 6 years, small car production capacity will rise 58% at GM, 61% at Ford, and 83% at Chrysler. Small cars also recently got a boost in the past 2 months from the U.S. government's Cash for Clunkers program. They offered credits as much as $4,500 to new vehicle buyers who traded in older, less fuel-efficient models. Small cars from Toyota, Ford, Honda, and Hyundai accounted for the top 5 models purchased through the program.
So what will need to be changed by the industry to continue to move forward?
Today, when profit is often portrayed as corporate greed rather than a means to keep the industry moving forward and offering the ability to reinvest in future technologies, what's needed most are high-volume products that earn a profit for the manufacturer. However, the fact remains that most of the alternative energy and vehicle industry currently are not economically competitive with conventional industries, without substantial government funding and subsidies. We also are still in the midst of our longest U.S. recession since the Great Depression and have a real unemployment rate at 16%.
Now, regarding the education and the industry, how can schools and universities prepare people for a world where work can be green?
My response lies in education itself. The key to success is no longer simply whether you can reproduce something you have learned, but whether you can extrapolate from what you know and apply your knowledge in a novel and changing setting. This shows that if students learn merely to memorize and reproduce knowledge and skills, they risk being prepared for jobs that are in fact disappearing. The problem is this is precisely what many schools have focused on for so many decades. Of course, state-of-the-art skills in a field such as alternative fuels will always be important. Innovative and productive people generally have specialized skills. But there are other important competencies that education needs to focus on, but ultimately, green growth will rely on people's behavior and on their individual understanding of its social and environmental impact.
How can the education system be geared towards influencing young Americans to engage in creating more green technologies like alternative fuels?
There's a broad consensus on the goals, but the degree of execution is not the same. There are surprising gaps in our knowledge of how to make that happen. The political economy of reforms in the field of education is enormously difficult. Breaking the status quo is not that easy.
Where can the auto industry find employees who are educated in the field of alternative fuel creation and put them to use?
That's a great question. There are many organizations out there that teach and emphasize green technologies and alternative fuels. A few examples would be the Environmental Careers Organization, the U.S. Department of Energy. They specialize in higher education and career opportunities. The Pure Energy Center, Pure Hydrogen Training, creates technologies using hydrogen. SAE International is the Engineering Society for Advanced Mobility in Land, Sea, Air, and Space. They also hold seminars and workshops. Florida Solar Energy Center does a lot of work with solar-powered vehicles. Alternative fuels training programs offered by the U.S. Department of Energy provides a list of training programs and alternative fuel vehicle industry. And American National Standards Institute is a nonprofit organization that administers and coordinates U.S. voluntary work.
In conclusion, we also need to come to a common understanding that the world needs all sources of energy, conventional as well as alternative. Worldwide energy consumption is projected to rise more than 50% by 2030. with most of that growth in emerging economies such as China and India. Even if the use of renewables doubles or triples over the next 20 years, the world is likely to still depend on fossil fuels for about 70 to 85% of its energy needs based on various forecasts.
It is imperative that we keep investing and developing in all forms of energy to maintain a healthy and competitive energy market without any favoritism or politics. Otherwise, the emergence of lithium as a strategic commodity and the geopolitics associated with the electricity as the primary vehicle power source will mean that the alternative fuel or the hybrid EV battery market could end up with the same volatility and speculation as the current crude oil market. We appreciate you taking your time to listen to our project on the alternatively fueled automotive industry.